So you want to own a snake farm, not one pet snake inside a glass box, a real commercial operation. 10,000 pythons growing inside a secure industrial facility, eating processed animal protein, producing meat and leather, and occasionally reminding you that your inventory has muscles, teeth, and an excellent talent for finding gaps. From the outside, the business looks almost unfairly efficient. Snakes do not need pasture. They do not need daily exercise. They do not burn large amounts of feed just to maintain a warm body. A python can reduce its metabolism, survive long periods without eating, and begin growing again when food becomes available. You can sell the meat. You can sell the skin. You may also sell the fat, gallbladder, head, and other processed byproducts. It sounds like the perfect livestock business, until one snake escapes. Then your workers stop cleaning, your manager stops answering emails, and your warehouse becomes a very slow game of hide and seek with a 16-foot carnivore. Now imagine managing 10,000 of them. Welcome to the economics of owning a snake farm. For this model, you are building a legal, commercial python farm in Southeast Asia. Your main products are python meat and skins. Everything else is secondary. You begin each production cycle with 10,000 juvenile pythons and expect around 9,000 saleable animals 15 months later. That distinction matters. Some animals will grow poorly, some will become sick, some will be injured, some will die. Others may be retained as future breeders. A 90% saleable rate would represent strong management, not a guarantee. The first surprise is that you do not need a ranch. Pythons do not require open pasture, but they still require a serious industrial facility. At an average finished weight of 5.6 kilograms, 9,000 market animals represent approximately 50,000, 400 kilograms of living snake. At commercial stocking densities, the growing animals alone may require more than 3,000 square meters of usable enclosure area. After adding quarantine, incubation, feed preparation, processing, storage, and staff areas, the total site may require roughly 5,000 to 7,000 square meters. You are not buying 10,000 expensive individual cages. Most growing animals will be housed in secure communal pens or grouped production enclosures. Breeders, hatchlings, sick animals, and animals under observation require separate housing. Every pen must be washable, corrosion-resistant, easy to inspect, and extremely difficult to open from the inside. The snakes do not understand your operating procedures. They only understand that one corner looks slightly loose. Your first major expense is the property and infrastructure. Buying the land could consume the whole budget, so you lease a semi-rural industrial site. You renovate the buildings, install drainage, ventilation, secure fencing, loading access, wastewater systems, food storage areas, quarantine rooms, backup electricity, and employee facilities. Budget approximately $260,000. Then come the enclosures and operating equipment. You need production pens, breeder enclosures, incubators, transport boxes, weighing equipment, identification systems, hooks, cleaning tools, cameras, freezers, food processing machines, and backup generators. Budget another $210,000. Now you need the animals. You purchase a large batch of documented juveniles, together with a smaller legal breeding population from several unrelated bloodlines. Animals, transport, veterinary screening, permits, quarantine, and documentation cost approximately $190,000. Before the first cycle properly begins, your physical investment is already around $660,000. But this is not your true funding requirement. The snakes need time. Your first major batch may take 15 months to reach market size. During that period, you must pay for feed, workers, electricity, maintenance, veterinary care, transport, security, administration, and waste management. If annual operating costs are approximately $593,000, 15 months of operation costs around $741,000. That means the total funding requirement before completing the first full cycle is not $850,000. It is closer to $1.4 million. Add a reserve for equipment failure, disease, delayed sales, or slower growth, and a safer starting budget is approximately $1.5 million. This is the first major lesson. The farm does not fail because a python eats too much. It fails because cash leaves the bank for 15 months before the first full batch generates revenue. Now the farm begins operating. Your snakes are obligate carnivores. You cannot feed them grain, grass, or positive thinking. Young animals may begin with chicks, rodents, or quail. A large commercial facility may use carefully processed protein from poultry, pork, or fish operations. The material can be ground, supplemented, formed into sausage-like portions, frozen, and distributed according to animal size. This is where location matters. A farm near major food processing businesses may secure safe, low-cost protein. A farm buying retail rodents will discover that its snakes have a more expensive diet than its employees. Based on the production model, 9,000 finished pythons produce around 30,240 kilograms of dressed meat. Using a feed conversion assumption of roughly 4.1 kilograms of feed for each kilogram of dressed carcass, the farm may require about 124,000 kilograms of prepared feed during the cycle. Annualized feed-related costs may reach approximately $189,000. That figure also covers collection, transport, grinding, supplements, freezing, storage, spoilage, rejected feed, and disposal. The raw material may be cheap. Turning it into reliable commercial feed is not free. Labor is the next major expense. Snakes do not need to be milked twice a day, but 10,000 living animals create a huge amount of repetitive work. Every enclosure must be checked, cleaned, supplied with water, and monitored. Animals must be weighed, sorted, treated, quarantined, and eventually processed. At this scale, the operation may require around 40 employees across animal care, cleaning, food preparation, maintenance, processing, security, administration, and management. Annual payroll may reach approximately $272,000. Utilities, veterinary treatment, licenses, testing, repairs, insurance, transport, security, replacement equipment, and administration add another $132,000. Total annual operating cost is approximately $593,000. The biological efficiency of snakes gives the farm some flexibility. If feed prices increase, you may temporarily reduce feeding without immediately destroying the value of the herd. If demand slows, you may delay processing more easily than a chicken farmer can delay a warehouse full of fast-growing broilers. But survival is not the same as profitability. Feed less, and the snakes grow more slowly. Grow them more slowly, and every enclosure remains occupied longer. When all the pens are full, a longer cycle means fewer animals sold each year. The snakes may survive the delay. Your cash flow may not. Now, examine the output. You begin with 10,000 juveniles. Approximately 9,000 reach saleable condition. Each finished animal weighs an average of 5.6 kilograms. That gives you approximately 50,400 kilograms of live weight. Suppose dressed meat represents around 60% of live weight. That produces approximately 30,240 kilograms of python meat. At a modeled wholesale price of $8.30 per kilogram, meat revenue is approximately $251,000 per production cycle. That sounds substantial. It does not cover the business. The skin determines whether the farm succeeds. Python skin is not a standardized commodity. Its value depends on species, length, width, pattern, scarring, preservation, documentation, and fashion demand. A clean, large, traceable skin may attract a strong buyer. A scarred, undersized, badly preserved, or undocumented skin may be heavily discounted or rejected. Assume each of the 9,000 skins produces an average farm gate value of $45. Skin revenue is approximately $405,000. Now add fat, gallbladders, heads, and other processed byproducts from those same 9,000 animals. These secondary products generate approximately $94,000. We are not including major revenue from eggs, hatchlings, or breeding animals in the base model. Those products require additional breeding output, additional costs, and customers who may not exist. Counting them automatically would inflate the economics. Total revenue for the 15-month cycle is approximately $750,000, converted into an annual figure that is approximately $600,000. Annual operating cost is approximately $593,000. Your annual operating profit is around $7,000. You raised 10,000 snakes. You managed 40 employees. You committed roughly $1.5 million. And before interest, tax, depreciation, equipment replacement, and your own salary, you earned about $7,000. That is not a business success. That is an extremely complicated reptile collection. The problem is not that pythons grow badly. The problem is that the farm sells raw biological material. Consumers may see a luxury python handbag selling for thousands of dollars. The farmer does not receive the handbag price. Between the farm and the boutique stand, traders, tanneries, exporters, manufacturers, retailers, and the luxury brand. The farm sells a skin. The brand sells status. The difference between those prices pays many businesses before it pays you. This creates one brutal break-even number. At the current meat and byproduct assumptions, the average skin must sell for approximately $44 just for the farm to cover annual operating costs. At $45 per skin, you are barely profitable. At $35 per skin, you may lose more than $60,000 per year. At $60 per skin, annual operating profit may exceed $100,000. At around $80 per skin, the economics become genuinely attractive. A $15 change in the average value of each skin can move the farm from almost no profit to more than $100,000 in annual operating profit. That is the real business. You are not simply farming snakes, you are farming skin quality. So, how does a strong operator improve the model? First, reduce damage. A scar is not only an animal welfare problem, it is a direct reduction in product value. Poor enclosures, overcrowding, rough handling, bad sanitation, and untreated injuries all lower skin quality. Second, improve preservation. Bad cutting, contamination, poor storage, or weak documentation can destroy 15 months of production in a few hours. Third, sell closer to the final buyer. The farm may preserve, grade, and prepare skins instead of selling immediately to the first middleman. It may partner with a professional tannery or secure contracts with several exporters. But higher margins bring higher complexity. Better preservation requires equipment, skilled employees, quality control, wastewater treatment, and tighter compliance. Fourth, improve the meat business. Instead of selling whole carcasses at the lowest wholesale price, the farm may produce cleaned, inspected, portioned, and frozen meat for restaurants or distributors. This may increase the average price from approximately $8.30 to around $9.25 per kilogram. But now the farm is also a food processing company. It needs food safety systems, cold chain logistics, testing, traceability, and reliable buyers. Fifth, control production. Large female pythons can produce many eggs. That makes rapid expansion appear easy, but every hatchling represents future feed, labor, enclosure space, documentation, and working capital. Production can double faster than demand. A disciplined farm does not hatch every possible egg. It produces according to confirmed sales capacity. Now consider a stronger operating case. You reduce mortality. You produce cleaner skins. You improve preservation. You negotiate with several buyers. You process meat more professionally. And you raise the average skin value from approximately $45 to around $80. Your 30,240 kilograms of meat now generate approximately $280,000 per cycle. Your 9,000 skins generate approximately $720,000. Processed byproducts generate around $60,000. Total cycle revenue reaches approximately $1.06 million. Annualized revenue is approximately $848,000. Better systems increase annual operating costs from approximately $593,000 to around $642,000. Quality is not free. Annual operating profit is approximately $206,000 on roughly $1.4 million of capital committed before the end of the first cycle. That represents an operating return of around 15%. If total committed capital is closer to $1.5 million after contingency reserves, the return falls to around 14%. That is still attractive, but it assumes the farm operates near capacity. Mortality remains controlled. Feed remains affordable. The skins meet buyer standards. The processing systems work. The permits remain valid. Export channels stay open. And customers actually pay. One disease outbreak, rejected shipment, or lost buyer can destroy the margin. This is why traceability matters. International trade in many python species and products is regulated. The farm must document where the animals came from, how they were bred, how they were processed, and where the products are going. The snake trade has faced problems involving illegally collected wild animals being presented as captive bred. Legitimate farms, therefore, operate under suspicion created by dishonest businesses. A shipment can be delayed because another operator broke the rules. Even perfect animal care cannot fix a closed export channel. Disease is another major risk. A snake facility may be quiet, but it is biologically dense. Respiratory infections can move through poorly ventilated buildings. Parasites can enter with new animals or contaminated feed. Equipment can carry disease from one section to another. A sick python may not show dramatic symptoms. And because snakes naturally refuse food during stress, shedding, or breeding, workers may not immediately recognize when normal fasting has become a medical problem. Quiet animals can hide expensive problems. Then there is animal welfare. Bad welfare is not only unethical, it is bad business. Overcrowding increases stress and injuries. Injuries damage the skin. Poor sanitation increases disease. Rough handling creates scars and employee accidents. Inhumane processing can destroy relationships with serious buyers. And one disturbing video can turn your farm into an international scandal. The cheapest method can become the most expensive method after the photographs reach the internet. And no, you cannot casually diversify into venom.